All right, guys, welcome back to another daily review. Um, we have a lot to talk about today. So before we begin, let's just pray. God, just give you thanks again for another day, another successful trading day. Pray that you'll be with anyone watching this video. May we all learn and may we all improve and become consistent. We pray. Amen. All right, guys. So the big topic on everyone's lips this morning was the inflation data and the CPI data that was supposed to drop. And as you guys have heard me mention, over time, I do not trade news and I do not get flustered by news anymore. Because what I've discovered and what I've shown you guys is that news only creates volatility within an already established market structure. So once you have a high and you have a low, of a previous period, whether a period of previous day or previous week, when the news comes out, it does not create a new structure. It just creates the volatility between those two high and low points. And we saw exactly that this morning. Everybody was anticipating that big drop or the big spike, but you saw what happened. The one candle that came out at 8:30, basically it gave a drop right down to where my entry was yesterday. And as soon as it dropped right there, within less than a minute, it shot right back up to the top. And it kept going until we got another historic high today, another all-time high. So that is what I meant when I say news does not create new volatility. I mean, new structure. It only creates volatility within an established market structure. Now, what you will have noticed, however, excuse me, is that those of you who follow the post also on Instagram or and you're part of the Telegram chat, you'll see that I sent out a message and I mentioned that once the all-time high was achieved, that was the time to actually take the profits and then you wait for another setup. There's no use trying to enter additional buys from a high. Remember, you cannot buy from a high. You have to wait for the trade, for the price to retrace and get back to a higher low before you actually buy again. And not just any higher low, it has to be a higher low on your largest active time frame. So um we so this was let me just jump on the 15-minute where you actually see a lot more detail as to what has been happening. So this has been the 15-minute time frame for all of this week. Now, I've been tracking it since market open and just count with me the current higher low. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14 higher lows since the low of Friday. Okay, 14 higher lows have been created on the 15-minute time frame this week. So that's one of the reasons why I've been extremely critical of those people who keep coming on and shouting, sell, 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 sell. Remember, in order for you to have a sell structure, you need to have lower highs to lower lows. There's absolutely nowhere on this time frame that tells you that the market is making lower high, lower lows. What you clearly see is a trend being maintained where you have higher lows to higher highs. All right. So this here, let me just open this up so you can see it. This blue line, remember I told you this was my entry yesterday. That was 23,815.5. Okay. As soon as the market opened, the market made higher lows and it kept going. Right. On the 1 minute, it made higher lows to higher highs and it kept going all through the night. Now, when we got to 8:30 this morning, look at what happened. The market actually dropped instantly. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there are a lot of people out there who are anticipating that sell who got caught because once they saw that market drop, they immediately rushed in and went in for sells. And what happened right after? Less than a minute after, the market just shot right up. Look at this big wick right here. Okay, the market shot right up and there was a period of consolidation before actually shooting all the way up to create another all-time high. All right. Now, remember, the trend is higher lows to higher highs. That is the master trend. Higher lows to higher highs. So if you take your largest higher low, okay, and you trade, you buy up to your higher high, the logical thing to do is to take your profit because the trade would have ended on a higher high. Remember, you're trading higher lows to higher highs. So the minute you get a higher high on that largest time frame, in this case, it's going to be the all-time high. There's no reason for you to actually continue holding that trade anymore. Holding it after that point, and I was guilty of that in the past, holding it beyond that point would be greed. Okay, so once you hit that higher high, in this case, the all-time high of today, and you get your confirmation, all right, you take your profits, and now you are now waiting for your next higher low to be produced. Okay, now the market clearly, and I will mention to you that the market right now is going to be in a retracement period. How do I know this? Well, if you're trading higher lows to higher highs and you just completed a higher high, in order for the trend to continue, you would need a higher low to then trade back to another high that is going to be higher than the previous high. That's how you get the higher lows to higher highs. Remember, the lows keep falling higher, but the highs keep going higher. Okay? So if you're at a higher high, the natural thing for you to do is to take a profit and then wait for the market to retrace. Then you go in on your largest higher low and trade back to your higher highs. Okay? Now, do sales exist in the market? Absolutely. Okay? Is everybody qualified and able to take a sell? Absolutely not. Because a lot of people are not waiting for the market to actually get in at the right levels. So they just jump into sells because they get emotional. They listen to a lot of the comments here on Minds, and then they just jump into sells arbitrarily. Okay. So what you want to do is, if you are not 100% comfortable with taking your sells, if you don't understand Fibonacci retracement levels, leave the sells alone and wait. Okay, it's easy for you to wait, and it's easier for you to trade a market that is going higher lows to higher highs by going in on your largest higher lows, because the trend will always pick you up. Remember, when you look at the NASDAQ 100, every single high that has been created on the NASDAQ 100 has been broken. Every single high, including the one that was made earlier today. Okay, because the market is coming from an all-time high. Okay, not so with the lows. Remember, I gave a challenge earlier today. I mean, I've been giving it for months now, but I renewed it earlier in the day, where I said, if you found on the NASDAQ 100, you can find anywhere on the NASDAQ 100 where the price has gone below 10,427, which was the low that was made back in I think October of 2022. If you can show me, you know, I'm waiting for somebody to show me when the price has actually broken that level. I think it was 9:30 on that particular day. I put it in my post. You can actually check it on the Mind section. You'll see it. Okay. But there's absolutely nowhere that the price has gone back below that. Every single high since then and before has been broken. Not so with the lows. Okay. And that's why it's called higher lows to higher highs. All right. So going back to what we're talking about. So since the higher high was completed earlier today, okay, it's natural to expect that the market is going to retrace. Okay. So when the market retraces, you have two options. You can either wait or you can either sell. Okay. All right. So if you don't have the skill set, leave the cells alone and wait. You already know, and I drew this trend line here for you. Those of you who had a chance to see the analysis video for this week, you'll notice that I still have my 2 trend lines here. And I mentioned that all of this week so far since Monday, price has been hugging the lower level trend line. By that, I mean every single time the price has retraced, okay, it came back and it broke the trend line temporarily and left a wick and closed above the trend line. Every single time. Notice it does it without fail. So which means if you're waiting on the sell, okay, you're going to wait for price to come back and interact with the trend line, okay? The other thing that you will also notice is that each time when the price has come back to interact with the trend line, it has done it from a higher position. Hence, higher lows, higher highs, okay? The other thing that was a big giveaway today was the 8:30 candle that was formed this morning. Remember, if you go on your 15-minute time frame, okay, this candle right here that broke this low should have created a point which was actually a new low. It should have done that, but it didn't, okay? And usually you get one of these empty candles on days where you have extremely high volatility, on days when you have you know, like large reports coming out. It's very common for it to happen. It's more common than you really realize. Most people don't realize it because you're really not paying attention to that. Excuse me. So most people don't realize it because you're not paying attention to it. So this week right here needs to be retested before any buys you know, are considered serious anyway. All right. So if you notice where this wick actually formed, it formed just above the trend line that has been tested every single time the market has retraced. Okay. So you expect price to come back in this region. Second reason is, of course, when you look where my entry was, notice that the price came and stopped right above it before continuing up. Okay. So again, I expect that this sell is going to continue to this region. Okay. Am I recommending that you sell this market? Absolutely not. I'm not going to recommend it because, of course, if it turns around before, somebody's going to say, oh, you told me to sell. No, I don't recommend anything. Do your own analysis and do what feels right to you. Okay. But I do expect that the sell is going to come down here to at least take out this week. How far down it will go? I don't see it passing this black line that I have right here. I don't see it passing it. Right. So I'm expecting the price to come down in that region. But my recommendation to you is, since you're trading the trend, it's the easiest and the most guaranteed successful way to trade the NASDAQ 100 is to wait for your next higher low before you actually start buying. All right. So just in a nutshell, I just wanted to say again, the strategy still stood, which was higher lows to higher highs, guaranteed, no question about that. I have, you know, I don't need to defend this strategy to anybody right now because we see it happening right before our eyes every single day. Higher lows to higher highs. Okay. So again, this is the week of 8:30 this morning when that report came out. I expect the price to come back to actually cover this wick because it's basically a naked wick. It's a wick that should have actually registered a new low and it didn't. That is because you had the extreme volatility today, and this wick is usually present on days whenever you have big reports, large volatility runs. You usually get candles like this. Whenever you have them, it requires for you to have extreme patience and wait for it to be retested before continuing with your buys. All right. So what am I expecting next? I expect that the buys are going to continue because the NASDAQ 100 is still in a bullish trend and it's eternally bullish and it will continue to buy. However, I'm not buying from these levels. Look at your larger time frames. Look at your 1 hour. 1 hour has not put on anything. Your 2 hour has not put on anything. I'm not buying from these levels. Absolutely not. I'm waiting for the price to retrace and then I buy right back to these levels because I know that price already came here. So it's definitely going to go back here. However far down the price goes, it's the better. The more it sells, it's the better for my next entry. Because the more it sells, it means it's the more it is gathering volume for it to actually push to pass its previous high. Because the market is making higher lows to higher highs. And that's always a guarantee. Okay? So in closing, just want to say the trend actually held up, the strategy held up, higher lows to higher highs. Now I'm out of the market. I've taken trades. So now I'm waiting for my next setup, which is going to be my next higher low. One last tip. Remember, every time when you see the higher low come on, it does not mean that you arbitrarily jump into a trade and expect that it's going to go up. No, if you don't wait for the right opportunity, okay, what will happen is that you will suffer a great deal of retracement and most people, their accounts will not be able to handle it. So it's important that you remain faithful and patient to the strategy. All right. Hope this review helps. Sorry, it was a little bit lengthy, but happy trading. Continue to be patient. Enjoy the retracement. Sellers who actually sold at the right time, you should be in very good profit right now. But like I said, if in doubt, wait. You know the higher low is guaranteed to come. And once the higher low comes, then you know the next guaranteed move is going to be a higher high. All right. So take care, guys. Enjoy your night, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.